So I've got a little bit of a dilemma. See these windows behind me? They're very large. And of course, when you're in a studio and you're making videos, you need some sort of way to control the lighting, which means I need blackout curtains. Now I thought to myself, these windows are really big. That one in particular is very high off the ground. I'm just gonna get a company to come in and do it professionally. So I just had a person come in for a consultation. They did all the measurements and I just got the quote for all of these curtains and it was, brace yourself, over $10,000. All that to say, I'm gonna have to measure these windows myself now and find a place that has blackout fabric that's big enough to cover these windows. And we're doing another DIY. So here's the curtain. I got it on Amazon. It was like 40 or 50 bucks. Let's get my flashlight here on full power. I mean, you can barely see that light coming through. So let's get the rod up and mount the curtain and see how it looks. Don't mind the mess. This place is still kind of construction zone. So the curtain actually turned out pretty good. There is a little bit of a gap at the bottom, and obviously I'm gonna have to figure out something for the top, probably a piece of foam core or something like that. And up here you can see I originally had the bar a bit longer. I thought that because this is such a big curtain, I would need that extra space to kind of keep it away from the window when I'm not using it, but it's actually a lower profile than I expected, so I'm gonna have to fill that. So the shelf is complete, but I have way too much stuff to fit on one shelving unit. But I do think it would be very beneficial to put a workbench over here so I can organize tools and other things, because this is gonna become cluttered way too quickly. Looking at IKEA, I think 2 of these guys would be perfect. Okay, we're back in the studio. It's been a couple days. The blackout curtains are all set up. Let me show you. They work pretty well. There's a little bit of light still leaking from that top slot that we were talking about earlier, but it's nothing a little foam core can't fix. But yeah, overall, very happy with how this is turning out. I also set up the backdrop stand up on the wall, which I forgot to film because I'm still getting used to this whole vlogging thing. Speaking of which, I wanted to talk a little bit about vlogging. I was with a good friend of mine the other day and he was asking me about these vlogs, and not in a rude way. He was trying to ask me like, why am I vlogging? Like, what's kind of the point here? And the other part to his question was, is it difficult going from the content I was making before, which was so scripted and required so much creativity and a lot of effort, to these vlogs now, which are kind of the opposite, where there's no real plan to these videos. I'm just kind of filming what's happening. And yeah, in a way it is kind of difficult to mentally wrap your head around that the point of these videos isn't to reach the largest audience or to teach anyone anything particularly meaningful, but rather I'm just delivering kind of a stream of consciousness and showing people what I'm up to, which is totally new for me. But to kind of get into the first part of the question, which was, why am I doing it then? Well, the best way I can answer that is when I've been doing videos a certain way for so long and I got so burnt out, obviously something had to change because I was out of ideas. I was in a total state of paralysis where I couldn't create. I was at a point where I felt like every video I was making had to be better than the previous video. I felt this pressure to constantly outdo myself. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing at all, and that mindset actually helps a lot with growth, it does absolutely get to a point where I could not continue that way. I didn't have ideas to outdo myself, therefore I just wasn't uploading. So I look at these vlogs and these past few videos talking about the studio and showing you kind of what I'm up to as a means to just create without the pressure. I view this whole journey with experimenting with content as building the runway, so that when an idea does pop into my head and there is a sort of jolt of creativity that I know is still deep in there somewhere, I want to have that runway and that momentum of creating so that I can capitalize on that feeling. As I'm sure many of you know, creativity is such a fleeting thing. Like, you can come up with such a great idea and have all this motivation to want to shoot something, but if you wait on it for too long, or if you're not in the right headspace, it just kind of fizzles out and you never get around to it, and then you no longer like the idea. All that to say that if I'm not picking up a camera and I'm not importing footage and I'm not editing and I'm not creating, there's no runway. There's absolutely no way any creative ideas or inspiration is just gonna magically pop into my head. So for you watching these videos, and I hope you enjoy them, just take it for what it is. It's me updating my studio, showing you what I'm up to, and documenting this journey as I kind of get back into the swing of things. and I plan on making some really great content. I'm just really trying to get out of that mindset that everything I put online has to be a masterpiece, because it's just not the case. Like, you're gonna watch this video right now, you're gonna forget all about it by tonight. So when you look at it that way, it doesn't really make sense for me to take myself so seriously to the point where I'm just not uploading at all, because that doesn't get me anywhere. So yeah, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. It wasn't meant to be this dramatic. It just looks like it because the curtains are all closed. All right, this is one I am very excited for. Ta-da! So this is called a sawhorse, and what you would normally use it for is for cutting wood. Basically makes for a table that you would lay your sheet of wood. You can clamp it, you can cut it. But what a lot of studios do is you set these up basically as your tabletop. So you have two of these, and then you can lay down whatever surface you're shooting on across both. And this just takes up so much less space in the studio when you're not using it. I think a bunch of stuff has happened in this video, so let's break down exactly where we're at with the studio. The curtains are all in on this side. The curtains are also in on this side. Sound panels in the ceiling, as we talked about in the last video. We've got a sound panel on the wall here and here. The backdrops are up. We've got one grip cart here, which will go more in depth in a later video, and another grip cart here with lenses and cameras and stuff. This needs to be organized a lot better. We've got some light stands, and one of my lights here, again, also needs to be organized much better. The gear shelf, we've got a little workstation here. We've also got a workstation here with the pegboard that we set up. Another two big workbenches back here. This is where we have a bunch of batteries and stuff charging. But believe it or not, there's still much more to do. Got to do a lot of organizing. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, and I will see you in the next video.